In this video, I'm going to be giving y'all the top 5 best builds in NBA 2K22 Next Gen. But first, if you're looking for somebody to grind your badges, hit up Elite Badge Grinding. They're super fast and 100% legit. Click their links in the description and let them know Hambo sent you. Also, if you haven't already, please scroll down, smash that like button, as well as subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 10K before the end of the year, and that'd be greatly appreciated. So starting this video off, I'm going to give you guys 2 guard builds. The first one is going to be an all-around point guard build. So obviously for the position, you do need to go with point guard. If you want to, you can also make this in the shooting guard position, since that does also kind of work. Starting things off with the height, you're going to want to drop this down 1 rating to 6'2". For the weight, you're going to want to drop this down to 100, and yeah, you guys see the weight. And then for the wingspan, you're going to want to bump this up to 6'10". This way you can just have way better defense. Moving on to the attributes screen, starting things off, let's go with the driving dunk. You're going to want this at a 92 so you can get elite contact dunks. For the driving leg, go ahead, bump this up 2 ratings to a 76. And then finally, for the close shot, you're going to want this at a 54. In total, you should have 21 finishing badges. Onto your shooting attributes and badges. First, for your 3-pointer, go ahead and max this thing out and then upgrade your mid-range to an 81. In total, this build will have 27 shooting badges and will be able to shoot the lights out of the building. Moving on to the playmaking attributes and badges, you're going to want to max out both ball handling and speed of the ball. And then next, for the pass accuracy, you're going to want to bump this up to an 86. This way you can have 32 playmaking badges. On some of the previous builds that I've made, I didn't have pass accuracy. If you're isoing and stuff, you can kind of get away with it, but having pass accuracy and having bolt passer on gold is so nice. For the defensive / rebounding attributes, first for your perimeter defense, you're going to want this at an 86. And then for the steal, you're going to want this at an 89. This build won't have like superb defense or anything, but it's definitely going to be able to more than hold its own. Onto the physicals, for your acceleration, you're going to want this at a 93, your speed at an 89, and then you're going to want your vert at an 85. This will give you every contact dunk package in the game, such as the small contact dunk package. And then throw the rest of your attributes onto stamina, and you can have a 95 stamina. Also, you do have a couple of ratings. You just have to throw it on free throws, so just go ahead and do that. This build in total has 99 badges. This build is able to do everything at a pretty elite level. Its shooting and playmaking are absolutely insane, and since it does get every single dunk package, including the small dunk package, its finishing is insane. And then not to mention on the defensive end and on 2s, it's going to be a very solid build. If you do want free throw on this build, this is what I would recommend doing. First, go ahead, drop your driving layup down to a 73, and then drop your speed down 1 rating. And then if you throw all of those ratings onto free throw, you can have a 91 free throw. Moving on to the takeovers. For the first takeover, I would recommend going with the limitless range. And then for takeover number 2, let's go with limitless range again. You guys might think I'm crazy, but doubling up on the same takeover is just so fun and overpowered. Like, if you do get double take on this build, trust me, you're not missing from anywhere. And as you guys can see, I've built a 2-way threat. I mean, I guess this name kind of makes sense, but not really. Moving on to build number 2. Moving on to the second build of this video, this is going to be guard build number 2. And for this build, you're going to need to be a point guard. Now, I know the other one, I said you could run shooting guard if you want to, but 100% you need to be a point guard on this build. This is going to be your kind of trending meta point guard build, like all those short point guards that you see running around the park right now. For the height, you're going to want to drop this down to 5'11". A lot of the meta point guard builds that you guys are seeing running around the park are a lot shorter than this. However, I'll explain to you guys why I decided to go with 5'11", with just kind of a weird height on this build. For the weight, you're going to want to drop this down to 167 pounds. And then you're also going to want to drop the wingspan down to 6 foot. This pretty much means you can get 99 3-point and mid-range, and once you do the Gatorade drills or you get Gym Rat, then you'll get the +4 boost to your attributes. With Gym Rat, it doesn't tell you that you're getting the +4, but it does actually affect the game. And that's pretty much why these body settings are overall the best. Onto the attribute screen. For now, we're actually going to skip finishing. Going straight to shooting, you're going to want to max out your 3-pointer and then bump up your mid-range to a 94. You'll have in total 38 shooting badges. And honestly, on this build, you're not going to miss at all. For the playmaking attributes, first you're going to want to max out your ball handling, and then you're going to want to bump up your speed with the ball to a 93. And then go ahead and max out pass hack. You will also have 38 playmaking badges. Scrolling down to defensive/rebounding attributes, you're going to want your perimeter defense at an 86, and then go ahead bump up your steal to a 96, and then finally I recommend bumping up your block to a 46. In total, you'll have 22 defensive badges. You're not going to have insane defense or anything, but if you're able to work well with your big man or just the other players on your team, trust me, you're not going to get burned every single possession. Scrolling down to your physicals, it's honestly very simple. You're going to want your speed at 95, your acceleration at 95, and your stamina at 95. I kind of already explained how with the Gatorade drills or with Gym Rat, you get the +4 attribute boost, even though 2K doesn't tell you you're getting the boost. So therefore, it'll be 99 anyways. In total, this build has 100 badges and is able to do everything that you need it to do very well. It's able to shoot and play make at a very elite level, which is pretty much all you need a point guard to be able to do. And then on the defensive end, it'll at least kind of be able to do stuff. Moving on to the takeovers. For the first takeover, I would recommend going with Limitless Range. And then for the secondary takeover, let's go with Limitless Range again. This way we can have double Limitless. And as you guys can see, I built a playmaking shot creator, which I do think is a very accurate name. Moving on to build number 3. Moving on to the third build of this video. For this build, you're going to want to be a small forward. This is going to be kind of like a short, small forward build, so it can most definitely run point guard and even shooting guard if you wanted to. Onto the body settings. First, for the height, you're going to want to drop this down 1 to 6'6". Overall, you guys can just see how much this helps the attributes, especially for perimeter defense, steal, and speed and acceleration. For the weight, again, you're going to want to drop this down to minimum. This way, you're just as quick as possible. And then for the wingspan, go ahead, leave this at 7 foot, and then hit advance. Onto the attribute screen. For the driving dunk, you're going to want this at a 92. This is the perfect spot since this will allow you to get elite contact dunks. Next, for the driving lay, you're going to want this at a 78. And then finally, for the close shot, you're going to want this at a 59. In total, you'll have 20 finishing badges. For the shooting, you're going to want to max out your three-pointer and then bump up your mid-range to an 86. You'll have in total 28 shooting badges. This build will most definitely be able to green very, very consistently. Moving on to the playmaking attributes, you're going to want to max out your ball handle, basically max out your speed with ball, put this at an 83. And then for your pass accuracy, you're going to want this at a 73 total, and you'll have 25 playmaking badges. Scrolling down to defensive/rebounding, you're going to want to bump up your perimeter defense to basically max at a 94. You're going to want your steal at a 90 and then your block at a 70. This build isn't like a pure lockdown or anything, but its defense is definitely very, very good. Scrolling down to your physicals, you're going to want max speed and acceleration, and then you're going to want to bump up your vertical to an 80. And then finally, for your stamina, go ahead and max this out at a 99. You do have like 1 or 2 ratings, you just have to throw it on free throw. Go ahead and do that. This build has in total 93 badges. That's not crazy or anything, but it can do everything in this game very, very well. If you do want free throw on this build, the adjustment is very simple. Drop down your driving layup to a 73. Throw all of those ratings onto free throw and you can have an 84 free throw. Moving on to the takeovers. For the first takeover, as usual, we're going with Limitless Range. And then for the secondary takeover, I want this to be like a offensive juggernaut. So let's go with finishing moves. And as you guys can see, I built a 2-way scoring machine. Moving on to build number 4. Moving on to build number 4, this is going to be a popper. For this build, you're going to want to make yourself a power forward, and then that's pretty much all that matters on this screen. Starting things off with the body settings. For the height, you're going to want this at 6'9". If you go any higher, you're just going to be way slower, and if you go any lower, your rebounding and defense is just not going to be good enough. For the weight, you're going to want to drop this down to 210 pounds. And then for the wingspan, go ahead, bump this up 1 rating to 7'3". Starting things off with the finishing attributes, let's go to the dunking first. You're going to want to max out standing dunk and a max out driving dunk. Next, for driving layup, you're going to want to bump this up to an 89. And then finally, for close shot, you're going to want this at an 87. In total, you'll have 31 finishing badges. Scrolling down to your shooting attributes, first, for your three-pointer, bump this up to max. And then you're going to want your mid-range basically at max at an 82. This build doesn't have like stellar shooting or anything, but it's definitely a popper build that when left wide open, it's greening 100% of the time. Scrolling down to your playmaking attributes, for the playmaking, the only thing that really matters is pass accuracy, which I'd recommend bumping up to an 85. You don't really need ball handle or speed with ball on this build, since you're really never going to be dribbling. Whenever I do get the ball in this build, I pretty much always just run straight backwards, fake pass, wait for my guard to get close to me, and then do a handoff. And then beyond that, you're either going to be shooting or passing, and you're not really going to be dribbling too much. For the defensive / rebounding attributes, I'm going to upgrade this kind of weirdly. First, for your interior defense, you're going to want this at a 76. For perimeter defense, you're going to want this at a 78. And you're going to want to max out both steal and block. And then for offensive rebound, you're going to want to bump this up to an 84. And for defensive rebound, you're going to want this at an 82. Honestly, the defense on this build is nuts. With 31 defensive badges, nobody is going to be scoring on you. And then scrolling down to your physicals, you're going to want to max out speed, acceleration, and strength. For vertical, you're going to want this at a 75. There's really no reason to go higher than this. And then finally, for stamina, go ahead and max this thing out. With the rest of your attributes, I recommend throwing this onto free throw. You can have a 90 free throw. This build has in total 98 badges. It is able to do everything that you need it to be able to do and more. On to the takeovers. For the first takeover, I would recommend going with See the Future since you are a center. And then for takeover number 2, I would recommend going with Spot Up Precision. And as you guys can see, I've built a versatile paint beast. Honestly, if you make a build with high defense, the odds of you getting versatile paint beast are like 95%. Moving on to the last and final build. On to the last and final build of this video. For this build, we are going to be making a center. For the body settings, we're actually gonna max out our height. You guys might think I'm crazy, but I already showed you guys a short big man build, and now it's time for me to show you guys a tall point guard build, and 7'3s are kind of OP this year. For the weight, I would recommend dropping this down to 237 pounds. This way you're just not super duper slow. And then for the wingspan, go ahead and max this out. This way you're just even more overpowered. Starting things off with the finishing attributes, first for the close shot, bump this up to an 86. For driving lay, you're going to want this at a 55. For driving dunk, you're going to want this completely maxed out. For standing dunk, you're going to want this at a 92. And finally, for post control, bump this up to an 87. In total, this build has 28 finishing badges. And since you are just so big, you're going to be yamming on everyone. Starting things off with our shooting attributes, first, you're going to want to max out your mid-range. And then you're going to want to basically max out your three-pointer at a 72. You're going to have in total 19 shooting badges, which is more than good enough to be able to green consistently when left wide open. Scrolling down to your playmaking attributes, for your pass accuracy, you're going to want to bump this up to a 76. Being able to pass at least a little bit in this game is just so important that even a 7'3 player needs at least a bit of pass ac. For the defensive / rebounding attributes, first, for your interior, you're going to want this at an 80. For your steal, you're going to want to max this out at a 60. For block, you're going to want this at a 97. And then for your offensive and defensive rebound, you're going to want to max out both of these. Moving on to your physical attributes. Now, this is going to be very simple. You're going to want to max out speed, acceleration, strength, and vertical, and then throw everything you have left onto stamina. You should have a 96 stamina. This build has in total 96 badges. You're going to be able to dog everyone on defense and rebounds. You're going to be yamming on everybody, and plus they can't leave you open. Overall, it's just going to be one of the most fun builds in this game, especially for 2s. If you do want free throw on this build, what you can do is drop down your post control to an 81. This way you can have a 65 free throw, and if you need something higher, you can drop down your stamina to a 90. And then this way you'll have a 78 free throw, which is more than good enough to be able to hit free throws consistently. Moving on to the takeovers now. I don't know why you only have 6 takeovers available, but for the first takeover, I'm going to go with Stuff Box since I think this build as a rim protector is scary. And then for takeover number 2, I would recommend going with See the Future. As you guys can see, I built a glass cleaning lockdown, which is honestly just such a boring name. But anyways, you guys, if you have made it this far in the video, you are a real one. Let me know that you are down below in the comment section. Click one of the videos on the screen right now, such as a dribbling tutorial or a guide to green more consistently. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.